contributing about 10% of our inflation baskets, transport and all. So when prices of fuel spikes, then inflation also spike. And inflation is also another interesting parameter because it also feeds into the policy rate. And the policy rate yesterday, the government, through the Bank of Ghana, the MPC board, they met and they pegged it at 14%. And it's the policy rate that was also determining the lending rate. And the lending rate will also determine how much you pay as interest on any loan that you are going to take from the banks. And the policy rate will also have a rippling effect on economic growth because when borrowing cost is lower, meaning a lot of business can go onto the financial or to the banking markets to get more credit facilities, invest into their businesses, expand the businesses, grow their outputs, employ more, and it will hike. So they have to have a strong appreciation of all these mechanisms before you peg the policy rate as well. We started the policy rate from somewhere 28% in June 2025. Right. Currently, we are doing 14% because the inflation figures became relatively lower, so we were able to reduce our policy rate. But one important aspect or indicator that is catching my attention had to do with our debt levels. Currently, as I speak to the last debt bulletin we have from the Ministry of Finance, it stood at our total debt stood at 720.8 billion Ghana cedis, right? 720.8 billion. Then the external component of it was 341.7 billion cedis, and the domestic component was 379.1 billion Ghana cedis. So I traced the trend of the external debt and realized that the external debt kept on increasing. It increased from just this year, it was 322 billion in January. It went to 326 in April. Between February and March, there was a slight decline because of the servicing of some of our debts and the appreciation of the cedi again. That's why the cedi is very important, because when the cedi also appreciates, you reduce the external components of your debt. So that's a very important measure. So going ahead, that's the general picture of the economy. So the credit agencies, Fitch and other credit agencies have graded Ghana has projected that Ghana's economy will remain relatively stable. We will not, unless there is an external shock, but you never know. We don't know the direction of the government. We don't know what special policy initiative they are going to embark on, and might even trigger the current state of the economy or the general picture as we have it, Mawuena.
And that's an important way for us to start, right? In terms of laying the premise as to what some of these data points mean and how it translates directly into every Ghanaian's life, and then sector by sector as well. Let's begin to look at what the numbers say. Right, sector by sector.
Okay.
In terms of what we've seen from the budget this year.
Okay.
And try and see if there's some work that's been done. Then I'll come to you, Kay, as well, because I see you've put together a few more details as well in relation to the budget statement. So, Wisdom, I'll start off with you, and then I'll come to Kay as well, so that we can take that one after the other.
So I'll begin with the energy sector. And you know, the energy sector is like the oxygen of the economy. Everything is powered by energy. So from the 2026 budget, the major policy directions or the policy initiative mentioned was that government will develop a framework for the accelerated deployment of a second gas processing plant called the Ghana Gas Processing Plant, GPP2. And also, government to commence the construction of 1,200 megawatt state-owned thermal power plant. And I will explain why. This is very important. I was looking through the Energy Outlook report for 2026. Mawuena, you know what has happened? Ghana is actually spending 8 times more for the fuel they use to power their thermal generators than before, because gas supply has really declined. we were relying on WAPCO for our gas supply, and there were issues, and our consumption has also increased, right? So we had to rely on HFO, which is the liquid-based portion of the fuel to power our thermal plants. So these IPPs, independent power producers, are relying on this heavy fuel, and it is relatively expensive compared to the gas, the light one, the light
crude oil.
Yes. So it is very important. I don't know the state of completion of this processing plant too, and they have to give us an update on it. Where has it gotten to? Have there been any investments made? What are the long-term structural contingency plan that has been drawn ahead? So there's an update that needs to be given on this particular project. And for the 1,000 megawatt, we used to export power to our neighboring countries. Remember in 2025, Mawuena, you were there when we were having a discussion about Sonabel, where the Burkina also we had to cut the exportation of power to them because locally we were not even able to meet peak demand. So that's a very good initiative, but as to whether it has started the state of completion,
the gas processing plants, what I remember is that the last time of check, the finance minister and the energy minister were having conversations as to funding, because it's supposed to cost some $500 million.
Yes, $500 million.
$500 million in terms of how much the gas processing plant was going to cost. I haven't gotten a word or an indication as to the amounts being ready, and for allocations going through, but it will be one of the many important questions which will be asked today when we do appear in Parliament for that conversation. A bit unfortunate that the energy minister himself might not directly be around today because there are other engagements which have taken him outside of the jurisdiction as we speak. Right. I know that on good word because of some other matters we've been following up on.
Definitely.
So he might not necessarily be, but the deputy energy minister, I suspect, will be around, and so as and when we get him, we can ask specific questions on this. But let's go on the other matters sectors, so that we can do that quickly.
Okay, the next sector is the health sector, and the government said they will commence the processes towards the construction of 6 new regional hospitals for the 6 newly created regions, beginning with the 3 hospitals in 2026. So they'll begin with 3. And they will complete 6 within the medium term. Government to commence the processes towards the construction of 2 district hospitals at Bole and Shama. And government to complete 10 of the abandoned Agenda 111 hospital projects. Mawuena, yesterday I did a story on this particular project, and we heard from the Minister of Health, Akando, saying that 4.8 billion Ghana cedis has been invested. When this new administration came, they channeled most of the Alpha funds into Big Push. They had to amend the PRMA Act to allocate 95% of Alpha to Big Push, the annual budget funding amounts from our petroleum revenues. So now, PIAC actually warned that particular decision will affect the Agenda 111 funding. Last year, President Mahama met clergy, and he proposed that if this faith-based organization can take part in equipping these Agenda 111 hospitals and they will manage it for them, he's on board to come, and they'll have a talk on that as well. So on this Agenda 111 hospital, it is most dear to my heart because remember what happened to Charles Emisa, when there was this no-bed syndrome, the whole issue about doctor-to-patient ratio, issue about our health infrastructure. Just last week, the Ghana infrastructure scorecard, it scored our health infrastructure very low by the Ghana engineers institutions. They said our infrastructure deficits, our infrastructure, the state of our infrastructure, they graded us actually 57%, which is not really good. That's very weak. And we need to improve on that. So we need an update on the 10 Agenda 111 hospitals. Which hospitals have been selected? What are the states of completion? Are the contractors on site? Are they actually embarking on revitalizing these hospitals. Apparently, Akando told us that they actually sent a plant to commission it. They commissioned it and they removed the plant from site and locked these hospitals. So we want an update on Agenda 111 Hospital. Let me continue. He said government to continue the abandoned projects. 1, La General Hospital, Efia Nkwanta Hospital in the Secondary Takrady Metropolis, Konfanochi Maternity Block, and Ashanti Regional Hospital in Sewa as well. And government to upgrade 7 hospitals to provide enhanced maternal and child health services. So these are the health sector initiatives as well. And we move on to infrastructure. So this 2026 budget says that they will commence the construction of a new Accra-Kumasi Expressway. And the expressway will be a new alignment, commence the construction of the Echiaman from Adoso Bridge, and government to construct 1,000 kilometers of agricultural enclave roads over a 3-year period from 2026 to 2028. And that this project will be funded by the World Bank. And you continue with all the big push projects, embark on 30 billion implementation of the big push in that order. And about this infrastructure promises also, they want to have the 8,000 units in the Sagleme affordable housing project to be made habitable in 2026. This particular promise, the Sagleme project, has it been any funds dedicated to them? What is the state of complete? Is it being made habitable as they promised? They have to answer to that as well. The next sector I will talk about is the transportation sector. This is also important to me because, Mawuena, you remember last year there were this conversation about our traffic situation, how long it takes us to get car from the major city, the central business districts of Accra to maybe Medina, the intra-city travels. And the whole signaling was that we are going to bring 300 buses and that these 300 buses will help elevate this stress, the traffic stress, the travel time, and elevate us from the transportation issues that we were facing at the time. The Minister for Government Communications came out with a post on social media that 100 buses came in. We were all happy that, okay, we are at least they are going to solve the intermittent transportation issues.
That's been taken to other parts of the country.
Yes, now they are using it for intercity. I mean, I feel the signaling, the messaging was not clear. We thought it was for intra-city. You only came out, Metromas came out to tell us that it is for intercity. There should be clarification. We want answers on that as well. And for the defense sector, they said that in the route tooling of the Ghana Air Force, government will begin the procurement and process and acquisition of 4 modern helicopters. I saw one from Airbus that just arrived recently, 1 long-range aircraft and 1 medium-range aircraft. I think that is a 4-year period. Yeah, it has a 4-year period. Aircrafts are not sold like cars, you know. Then, under the Land and Natural Resource Initiatives, some of the promises made that all importers of excavators, this is in relation to Galamsey, are now required to obtain approval prior to shipping from the Ministry of Transport. Government to invite interested private sector partners to collaborate in reclaiming 10,000 hectares of degraded land. What is the state of this promise? The Land Commission will also retain 100% of internally generated fund. I checked their IGF. They have not published their PBC program-based budget for 2026 yet in the Finance Ministry. So I don't have updates on that particular percentage. I would have given that to you. Then we move on to the education sector. And that would be the last but one.
I was going to say you round up for me on education. Then I go to K as well because he's put up a brief data point in relation to a look ahead today. So finish with me on education, then K will come in. Then I can introduce Dr. Julius Carter has joined us in studio as well. Then we can begin a bit more in terms of the conversations as well.
So under education, the government has secured actually 60 million USD from the Chinese government for the construction of a science and Technology University at Damango. So they wanted to construct Science and Technology University at Damango. What's the state of that? The Catholic University of Science and Technology in Damango will also be set up in partnership with the Catholic Church. And 2 new technical universities will be established in Jasikan and Techiman. What is the state of that as well? Government to establish 2 public universities in Kintampo and Dambai. What is the state of that as well? In terms of the capital expenditure aspect, 200 new junior high schools will be built, 200 new primary schools, 200 new kindergartens, 400 4-unit teacher bungalows, 400 places of convenience in underserved communities. And they also promised to gradually phase out the double track system under the free SHS program as well. So that's a general picture of the sector by sector promises that were made in the 2026 budget.
And we'll be seeking to track them.
We will track them
when the update is provided by the finance minister. Stay with me, Kay. I'm going to come to you now because I know that there's been some work as well done in relation to this mid-year budget review. Walk us through those details as well briefly. Then Dr. Carter, who is a government rep, will begin to provide us with a bit more in terms of some detail as well. He's an economist, by the way, and he speaks for the NDC as well. So, Kay, let me come to you now.
Yes, Mawuena. I think I want to look at it from a macroeconomic dashboard perspective for a ledger of facts. And we'll be looking at the indicator budget benchmark for November 2025. And then the latest position, that's July 2026, and a ledger verdict. You know, the facts don't lie. So if we look at our GDP growth as an indicator, I'll be taking it line by line.
Line by line.
So for our GDP growth, the budget benchmark for November 2025 was 4.8% for 2026. The latest position now is 6.4% in Q1 of 2026. Full year 2025 growth was 6.0. So that is ahead of target. Our non-oil growth, at least 4.9%. For the full year result pending for sector level data is required. So for that verdict, it is not yet testable. For inflation, 8% as of November, the benchmark at end of year within 8%, and currently at 5.3 in June 2023, rose by 1.6% points from May. So that's a major improvement as well. Then we look at the policy rate. Cautious monetary easing where stability permits. That's 14% down from 21.5% at the budget reading. That's a strong reduction. And then the 91-day Treasury bill. Lower government borrowing, about 5.70. That's the Bank of Ghana latest figure. That's also a major fiscal relief as well. And then the CD performance. I mean, we're maintaining a strong CD. The latest position is still a strong CD, improved, but it is still exposed. And then we look at the international reserves, at least 3 months of import cover above the minimum benchmark, and that target has also exceeded. So if we look at the positives, growth is above target, inflation